I basically view Black Lives Matter, or BLM, as being nothing more than a hate group. You can go through the internet, you can go through YouTube, you'll find many examples of their hateful, disgusting behavior. I see them. The ones that I've heard speak anyways, there might be actually some decent, meaningful members in BLM that actually are just looking for equality. But the majority of the Black Lives Matter members that I've heard speak, at least the members I've heard speak from Black Lives Matter, are nothing more than a bunch of ignorant mouthpieces. They seem to believe in black supremacy. As a matter of fact, the only difference I see between them and the KKK, I haven't heard about any examples of violence from Black Lives Matter. That's not to mean that they haven't committed violence, but I haven't heard about any violent incidents from them, even though they have made some violent statements. Like the leader of Black Lives Matter Toronto chapter basically, well, I'll come to her statement later on. You're going to see examples of why I view this as being a hate group. I believe in equality for all. I'm not a racist. You could call me an equalitist. I believe in equality for all. Blacks are not superior to anyone else, the same way that whites are not superior to anyone else. And no group should have supremacy over another group. And all that Black Lives Matter is doing by acting in this disgusting way is just making people hate them even more. And those people that are already racist against black people, it's making them even more racist. But all their actions are doing, they're hurting everyone. Like they seem to have a special hatred for white people and police officers. All they're just doing is driving a further rift between everyone and making everyone hate each other more. There's nothing healthy about this hate group whatsoever. Co-founder of Toronto's Black Lives Matter chapter believes white people are recessive genetic defects who should be wiped out. Whiteness is not humanness, Yusra Kogali wrote in a just-discovered Facebook post from December 2015, according to the Toronto Sun. In fact, white skin is subhuman. From there, Kogali, who purposefully misspells human in order to eliminate man from the word, made her case against the Caucasian race by arguing that more melanin is better. Melanin enables black skin to capture light and hold it in its memory mode, which reveals that blackness converts light into knowledge, she wrote. After making several similar statements, Kogali concluded that white people are recessive genetic defects. She said the Caucasian race need white supremacy as a mechanism to protect their survival as a people, because all they can do is produce themselves. Black people, however, simply through their dominant genes, can literally wipe out the white race if we had the power to, she added. The Black Lives Matter activists' argument has no basis in reality and is in fact reminiscent of arguments made against African Americans by white supremacists, according to Daniel Cavils, a professor at Yale University who spoke to The Sun about the ordeal. The Facebook post mirrors the racism of American eugenicists who claimed in the first third of the 20th century that native whites were genetically superior not only to blacks, but also to immigrants from Eastern and Southern Europe, he said. Their claims were without any scientific foundation and added up to expressions of naked white racism. The anger and frustration that animates the Black Lives Matter movement is altogether understandable, but the way to contest pseudoscience and white prejudice is not with an alternative to pseudoscience and black prejudice, Calvis, who is considered an expert in eugenics, continued. It is with moral argument and political action. This is not the first time Kogali has attracted attention for her statements. Just last week, she delivered a speech declaring Quebec City a white supremacist settler colony, and she called Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau a white supremacist terrorist for apparently not doing enough to address President Donald Trump's 90-day ban of entry into the U.S. from 7 Muslim-majority countries and the 120-day suspension of the refugee resettlement program.
Belkacemi, a professor who's married with 3 kids. Azedin Sufyan, who's a business owner and a father of the community. Abu Bakr Tabti, a parent and a husband. Abdul Karim Hassan, a father of 3 and a computer programmer. Mamadou Tanubari, a man with a family, with a gentle this weekend, and have done since the day that Mike Brown was murdered and left to the street. And we are going to have a moment of silence for Mike Brown for 4.5 minutes, which is representative of the 4.5 hours his body lay in the street. And we'll start when everyone's silent. Specifically for his actions. Don't touch me. Bernie Sanders was confronted at that roof. Bernie Sanders, would you please come over here? Please, don't talk. Well, fine, we'll hold you accountable here. Bernie, you were confronted at that roof by black women who said Black Lives Matter, and you have yet to apologize or put out a criminal justice reform package like O'Malley did.
News in Toronto, Canada's largest pride parade is back on the move. A protest by the Black Lives Matter group brought the march to a halt for at least 30 minutes. The organization was given the status of honored group for the event, which is the grand finale of the Pride Month. Now, Alexandria Williams is a co-founder of the Black Lives Matter movement in Toronto, and she joins us now. So, Alexandria, thank you for making the time for us. I have to ask the question that everyone in Toronto is asking: why did Black Lives Matter halt the Pride Parade?
The reality is we hosted the Pride Parade today because Pride Toronto as an organization has been constantly pushing Black folk in terms of their programming, other marginalized communities, in terms of the programming in a very far place away in order for us to celebrate our Pride. So today we held Pride accountable for their anti-Blackness, for their anti-indigeneity, for the fact that we have been pushed to the margins way too long.
Well, you had been invited to be an honored guest there. I'm wondering, had you informed Pride organizers that you were planning to disrupt the march?
We did not let Pride organizers know that we were going to interrupt the march. However, I think it was very clear from our actions at the mural when Pride decided to unveil the mural celebrating the unification, the false unification between trans communities, queer communities, especially trans communities and queer communities of color, of having a safe relationship with the police. After that happened, it was very clear that we were not too happy with Pride and the way in which they had treated us as their honor group and other Black community members who have given and made so much space for Pride.
Okay, and you're addressing concerns about other marginalized gay and queer communities being left out, but this parade was seen as a coming together of various LGBT communities, especially in the wake of the Orlando tragedy, where the vast majority of those who were killed were people of color. They were from various Latino backgrounds. This was also a historic parade because it's the first time a sitting prime minister was participating, and it was seen for various progressive groups as a good day. Was your timing appropriate for the sit-in?
I think our timing is appropriate whenever we talk about the fact that there are Black, trans, and queer people who are dying at outrageous rates at the hand of the police. And when we talk about the fact that marginalized groups have been pushed to the back, even in terms of the planning on Friday, you have the trans march, you have the powwow, you have Black queer youth stages all happening at the same time.
For folks who come from different intersections, it was very hard to celebrate pride in a way that represents your identities. So we were able to bring light to that today, and regardless of if the Prime Minister was there, he could be here, but he can't be in Ottawa, which needs his direct attention right now. We're talking about the police chief who first we were outside for 15 days asking him to see us, and he showed up here today to erase a trans community and a queer community that is going through brutalization at the hand of the police. It is always the appropriate time to make sure that folks know that the marginalization of black people, the marginalization of black queer youth, of black trans youth, of black trans people, of black trans people as a whole. Alexandria, I need to jump in at this moment because many are watching what unfolded today in Toronto and looking at the Black Lives Matter movement in critical terms. They're saying that you took time and space away from a group that has its own fair share of marginalization, of discrimination, of violence. Again, I'm referring to what took place in Orlando, but also what happens really right around the world. In many places where being gay is illegal, this again was a moment to address that issue. So I wonder, have you done yourself and your group a disservice by taking that space away from them? We're not taking any space away from any folks. Let me talk about homophobia. Let me talk about transphobia. We go through that too as black people. This is our space the same way. They are in our spaces. We are doing this together. It should be a cohesive unit of how we actually fight against oppression. It should not be one against the other. Anti-blackness and homophobia, things that need to be addressed, and they can be addressed at the same time, in the same spaces. It does not need to be one or the other. It could be two at the same time. Okay. We did not take... Yes. Okay, so in order for the parade to move forward, the Toronto Pride director had to sign an agreement on the terms presented by the Black Lives Matter movement. I wonder what were those terms and how exactly this agreement came about. We were talking to other groups like Black Queer Youth at Blockarama, who came to us and was talking to us about the way that Pride Toronto has treated them. We began meetings and consultations with community. We came with some demands together. One of the demands was to increase the funding to Blockarama, which is one of the biggest stages at Pride, to make sure that BQY has a permanent stage and also has funding to make sure that there's Black ASL interpreters available for these stages, to make sure that there's a reinstitution of South Asian stages, of Bollywood stages, so that they will be able to represent and be a part of Pride, and also to make sure that there will be no police floats in the next Pride next year. It sounds to some that you're bullying your way into getting the terms that you wanted. Yes, I understand you're working for other marginalized groups, but you didn't have a South Asian organization doing this. You didn't have a Puerto Rican organization doing this. You had your organization doing it and making sole demands. So where was the inclusivity in the series of demands you presented to Pride Toronto? The inclusivity of the terms that we created is the fact that we are a part of this community. There's this segregation between us and folks who identify as LGBTQ or folks that identify as a marginalized different things. We understand the intersections that it takes to fight against all oppressions. We didn't bully our way into Pride. We made space for ourselves in Pride. We made space for ourselves in a place where we have been erased, where people have forgotten the names of the people of us, and we made sure to recognize that all people who go through various forms of oppression were represented today. Okay, I want to end by addressing a tweet that was sent out by the Black Lives Matter Toronto Twitter account. It is an image of women. I'm not sure if you're in this image, speaking to a group of protesters, and you're saying, "We shut it down, we won, #Black Pride." What exactly do you mean by that? What we mean by Black Pride is the fact that Black folks are represented and being a part of Pride. When we mean that we shut it down, it means that we were listening to communities and we were able to take it here to Pride today and get them to answer to us so that we were able to meet the demands for our community to make sure that there's space for Pride to come. Okay, we'll see if your demands have been successful. Thank you, Alexandria. Thank you. Thank you. Have a great one. Alexandria Williams is with the Black Lives Matter movement in Toronto. She took part in the sit-in. We have reached her and other Pride organizers for reaction to the protest, but we have not heard back from them as the parade is still underway.
And here's a quote from the always charming Yusra Kogali. of Black Lives Matter Toronto. Please, Alec, give me strength to not cuss, kill these men and white folks out here today. Please, please, please. She once mused that just by having white skin, white people are subhuman. Another statement by Yusra Kigali. And according to Guess Who, Kigali, recently Kigali labeled Justin Trudeau a white supremacist terrorist. Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister. And this is a picture of Black Lives Matter doing a sit-in at the Toronto Pride Parade last summer. The reason they did their sit-in, they had a number of demands, including one of them being that uniformed police officers are no longer allowed to participate in the Black Lives Matter parade, which uniformed Toronto police officers have had afloat and been participating in the Toronto Gay Pride Parade for quite a few years now. And BLM Toronto even had the nerve, after doing this, they forced Toronto Pride to give them a seat at the table last year. Yeah, these are just a few examples of why I hate Black Lives Matter. Even as a black person, I'm for equality. And I feel for the most part, being black in Canada for the most part, I have been treated equally. Have I experienced racism in my life? Sure, I've encountered racism. And racism is just a global problem that's encountered by many people all over the world. However, I do feel that being Canadian, feel lucky to live in a country like Canada, where even though racism exists, I don't believe that it exists as badly, as strongly as it does in certain other countries, such as the US and other parts of the world. One thing's for sure, though, we're not going to get ahead. We're not going to bridge any gaps or have harmony between different groups of people if certain groups are going to go around saying how they're praying to Allah to keep them from cussing or killing white people. If certain groups are going to go around hating the police, hating white people, even calling white people subhuman, calling our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who is very clearly not a racist at all and is very much for equality of everyone, a white supremacist racist. We're not going to get anywhere by fighting like this. People need to come together, put their hateful feelings aside, and just treat everyone according to their character, not according to the color of their skin, or the uniform they wear, or their profession, or their religion, or their gender, or their age, or what country they were born in, or any other physical characteristic about them. People should be judged on their personality, on their character traits, how good or how bad a person they are. Once people start judging each other based on personality traits and character, then the world will be a better place. Black Lives Matter is not doing anyone any favors. And for this, my opinion, is that BLM sucks. Even to show up and hijack Bernie Sanders' speech of all people. Bernie Sanders is very much for the average Joe and the average Jane. He's for everyone, regardless of race or skin color. During the 1960s, Bernie Sanders took part in civil rights protests and civil rights sit-ins. He marched with Martin Luther King back in the 1960s. For over 50 years, Bernie Sanders has shown through his work that he wants to help the disadvantaged, and that he is for equality of everyone. He's for the average, ordinary Joe and the average, ordinary Jane. And this is the way they treat him? Shame on you, Black Lives Matter. Again, Black Lives Matter, you suck. And Yusuf Kigali, you're a stupid, worthless cunt.